Today we are going to speak about the wine glasses and why every wine is supposed to have its own wine glass. It's not just fancy or fashion. There's actually deep philosophy and scientific study behind. So, when you serve a wine in the right glass, you can highlight the main characteristic of your wine. And vice versa, choosing the wrong glass, you can simply ruin completely your wine. Let me give you a small example. So just imagine you wearing a wrong size clothes. First of all, it's awful because both of you can be really charming, but in a wrong dress, your beauty is hidden, it's unseen. So the same thing can simply happen to a wine too. A good wine, really good wine served in a wrong glass can become very disappointed. So what are the rules? Many people think that white wine should be served in a smaller glass, wine red should be served in bigger one. As a matter of fact, the rules are a bit more complex because when you choose a wine glass, your decision should be based on three main things. It is a type of your wine, it is an age of your wine, and the color of your wine. And all glasses are different because of two things. It is the size and the opening. Okay, let's start with the smaller glass. Not the smallest, but the smaller glass. Okay, a smaller glass is fine for a young wine. Young wine with a delicate bouquet in light structure. By the way, as red as white, it doesn't matter. So just look how narrow the glass is and how narrow is the opening. Why? It is because your wine doesn't have various aromas. It has a light structure and very delicate and fair bouquet. So that means it doesn't need much oxygen. That's why it's pretty narrow with the narrow opening, because you need to concentrate that aromas, that few aromas that has the young wine, and you need to lead them directly to your nose, and it doesn't need the oxygen. So that's why the wine is not the shape of the wine is not wide. Okay, what about a bit wider glass? It is a great glass for white aged wine and for a middle-aged red with a good structure. First of all, about the white. An aged wine, white, usually it is aged in an oak barrel or on the lees. So it has really great structure and great smoothness and plenty of aromas. So that's why it needs the oxygen. That's why the size of the glass should be wider. And you concentrate the flavors that are a bit more than this in that wine, and you lead them to your nose. So even the opening is a bit bigger, because this is the only way to get the right size of the oxygen and to open up your bouquet, to unfold it. And the same thing with the red. Middle-aged red needs a little bit more oxygen, so that's why this size is bigger and the opening is a bit wider. Okay, but what about an age complex red? Usually this kind of red has a great structure and great smoothness. That's why a glass that you choose should be large with a wide opening. because you need to increase the aeration of your wine, as your wine, structured wine, needs much more oxygen. So increasing the structure and the flavors of your wine, you always need to choose a wider glass, and because you need to bring enough oxygen and to open up correctly the bouquet of your wine. But what about a sparkling wine? For sparkling wine, we usually use a glass that is called a flute. And usually flute is long with very narrow opening. Why? Because we always want to enjoy the bubbles of your sparkling wine. The longer they last, better is your sparkling wine, because the length and the small size of your bubbles means a quality of your sparkling wine. So that's why the glass should be long and narrow, because we need to admire the bubbles, but sometimes, especially in case of a professional tasting, we need to analyze the process. We need to analyze the bubbles. By the way, what are the bubbles? The bubbles is actually carbon dioxide that brings up the molecules together with the aromatic flavors. It brings them up directly to our nose. So that's why it's narrow, because it needs to concentrate and bring all the aromas to our nose. And at the end, the last glass, the smaller glass. So how we use a smaller glass? A small glass we usually use for dessert wine. By the way, those of you who didn't watch my last video about great Tuscan dessert wine, please watch it, because it's really very interesting one. So we were saying in my last video that usually with a dessert wine we conclude a meal. We drink it at the end of the meal itself or with a dessert, but it's always to conclude a meal. That's why this size is the smallest, because it is the conclusion, because we had already the main wine during the meal. This is just to conclude it. So that's why we usually drink small quantity of dessert wine. Okay guys, I hope that these basic rules were helpful, and I wish you to enjoy great wines, but always in the right glass. See you next time. Ciao.